Take a minute to get set up. Before we start, how many tired? Everybody's full of energy this morning, wide awake, ready to do a crazy workout. Yes, no, tired. Okay, right. So, we're going to practice accordingly. Allow your feet to touch. And then, with your feet planted on the ground, extend your head top upwards. Relax your shoulders, relax your hips, and bring your hands together in the center. So one of the things we want to be able to cultivate when we're doing Tai Chi is seeing where things are out of alignment. And we should also be able to feel where things are out of alignment as well. So go starting with your feet and imagine that your feet can be unlevel and that you want to make your feet level by gripping the ground, activating your toes. You may have to pull one side in and flex another side more, but feel the symmetry in your feet. And then do the same thing with the ankles. You might do some stepping in place to sort of move things around down there to make this type of adjustment. And when you're breathing, like you're expanding, like you're filling an inflatable structure from the bottom, we just did the feet and the ankles. And then relax the calves. There's one story of a monk studying in the courtyard for Jinji Duli, studying this one, Golden Rooster. And while there's a grandmaster teacher standing in the Golden Rooster, and the monk comes over and he looks and he says, "Oh, this is not that difficult." And so he stands in Golden Rooster. And then the grandmaster says, "Feel my calf." And the monk reaches and it's soft. You can try that sometime. Meanwhile, put your mind into your calves and feel like when you can relax your calves, they can expand. The same thing with your feet and your ankles. So breathing as if you're inflating your calf muscles. You can relax the front of your legs to the shin, the front part of the lower leg. And then check your kneecaps. Feel the connection when you adjust your toes, when you're gripping your toes, and the surface of the kneecaps here. And then when you're doing that, check the calves again, see if they can be more relaxed. And then the inside of the hips, the base of the torso, and between the legs and the back here, allow all of that to relax. We can lift internally when we're breathing, the inside. So like we're pulling up as if you're girding up your loins, right? So pulling from the inside up through the center here. But allowing the inside of the hips. As imagine everyone here has seen the child's toy, and they have the hips cut at this angle. So imagine that line on a child's toy, and that you can allow that to relax. So your tailbone sinks. We can still internally have the pressure at the base, lifting up from the bottom. And then using the center to support. So as if you're locking off the base when we're breathing. And relax your lower back. This is unrolling and expanding this way. So we said, grip your toes and then allow them to relax, to expand and find symmetrical shape. Same thing with your calves. You can adjust your heels, do some stepping in place. And breathing, we're working our way up. So even the tendons below the calves, allow all of that to relax. Like it's working its way up from the ground we said to get the kneecap in the correct place by activating the toes and then relaxing them. And then everything else is relaxed offline. We have the center of this, the line for the hips is also relaxed. Tailbone is sinking. The base of the torso, we said the inside is lifting this way. We have a little bit of activity in the center and the abs, and the whole spine is relaxed. So we're starting to work on the upper body. Imagine when you're breathing that each vertebrae, you can expand each one. So moving your mind up your back slowly. You have a disc, and then between each disc there's a layer of cartilage, and then a disc, and then cartilage and disc. And so imagine that you want to take all the discs and pull them apart so the little spongy cartilage in between can expand. So we can do this with our breathing. We're working our way upwards in the body. Relax your sternum. That means that the sternum, if we're being pulled up this way, isn't here. It's just sunk. So, like when you go to the university and they have the medical class with the skeleton hanging. This is like an 80s trope, right? This would be in the classroom for some comedic purpose. So the skeleton hanging here. The thorax, this rib cage wouldn't be up, it would be sunk. So allow it to relax. And then the same thing with the shoulders. So breathing deep. Feel as if your body is a wetsuit. It's hanging. And right from here, this is the most, it may even feel painful to relax quite so much. To allow this to open, pushing up through the head top. The arms are completely offline. The base of the palms are resting on each other, and the fingertips also resting on each other. And even though everything's relaxed, it's not completely decomposed. We have just a little bit of spring. There's a little bit of liveliness just inside the armpit, and just inside the inside of the elbow as well. And here, and secretly just inside the corner of the wrist, there's a small expansion. So it's relaxed, but it's full. And then working your way to the top, the same thing. Do the same thing with your neck. Take the vertebrae. And you don't have to force, we don't have to push. You can just do it relaxed. Separate the vertebrae, separate the cartilage. Allow the cartilage to expand and fill in the spaces. So with the breathing. And you'll feel there's, as if you're, anyone ever here been on a hot air balloon? As if your head is a hot air balloon that wants to pull up, and you have cabling that connects it to your body. And so you'll feel in the corners, there's two main lines in the back and two main lines here in the corners, as if you can relax those tendons. So keep the chin tucked. We don't want the hot air balloon to drift off to the side, backwards, forwards. And then wiggle your face around, right? Fortunately, none of you appear on the camera, so you can make all kinds of exaggerated facial expressions. Wiggle your ears, your eyebrows. And the same thing, imagine that you can relax all of the layer of skin, fascia on your head. And then working our way back around the front, relax your brow, open your vision, open your nostrils and your sinuses to breathe more freely. By the way, when we talk about that, you have 2 points right on either side of your nostrils. You can put your mind on those points. That's large intestine number. It's either at the beginning of the chain or at the end of the chain. When we do that, you should have your mind on that corner. And then also the corners of the mouth. So we say half smile is the minimum. The stomach meridian connects to the corner of the mouth. So connect large intestine on the corners of the nostrils here with stomach meridian, which is corners of the mouth here. So when you have a half smile, the whole face is activated. There's actually two other points with the eyes, just underneath the brow. Don't try to find it right now, just sometime you can look it up. It's called Jing Ming, bright eyes. And so you can connect those 6 points in a line to have the center of the face expanded. Connect the tongue to the upper palate. And then relax. We're going to do some breathing. One of the things that we talked about today is we said, who's tired? Everybody's tired, right? If you're not tired, you're an exception to the situation. One of the ways that you can understand the feng shui is by observing. If you feel super tired, you think, I got enough sleep, I got enough rest, I ate enough food, and it was good enough food, but I'm still tired. And then you have to talk to your business associate, and they say, I'm tired, right? And then you go out in the street, and you see everybody is tired. This is, there's a Taoist guy that I read, and he refers to this as the space weather, okay? So when you start to see the pattern in the space weather, this is like people that like to go surfing. They're sitting on top of their board, they're waiting for the waves to come in. And when you see the wave coming in, then you know what kind of surfing to do. A good surfer is not going to start paddling for bad wave. They're going to look and say, let's let that one go and catch the next one, because it's the set. They learn to read the set. So in the same way, when you're teaching, you don't have to offer the same type of energy every time. Everybody's tired. So we have a class, and instead of spending just 5 seconds, okay, time to get going to do Tai Chi, we can spend a long time in this posture. And we're going to do some other type of standing meditation today, because we like to achieve balance. Let's do some breathing to start. So before you do anything, let's expand with some energy. Take a nice, comfortable step. Activate your feet and your lower body. How much you sink or sort of squat back is your own choice, but activate your feet and then push your hands and fingertips all the way into the sky. Make it a stretch. Reach all the way. And then reaching out to the side. So long breathing. And then the same idea that we did while we were standing, while you're doing this type of deep breathing. Can you send your mind through your body and find where there's places that are tense? As you reach, are your forearms, can you reach, extend them further? What about your upper back? What about when you reach out to the sides here? Can you feel your shoulder blades? And when you sit back, can you feel all of this part of the leg here activating to cover the balance on the other side? So expanding. Stretching in all directions. At the base, we don't have to stretch downwards. We have gravity to do that. So in this class, I've referred to the idea of as if inflating a balloon. So imagine while we do this Qigong, that you can actually inflate your body in several ways. You can inflate your blood. The more oxygen you have, the more oxygen saturated your blood is. And so, if we're talking about millions, billions, trillions of particles of oxygen, carbon dioxide going in and out, Just like a balloon, each time we put the air in, right? We want to prevent it if we're blowing it up without a machine or device. We want to prevent the air from going out, so we want to try to remain inflated. So the same thing, as you're doing this exercise, imagine the more that you can relax, the more that you can expand. Just like a sponge, when you squeeze the sponge under the water, it doesn't absorb anything. But when you let it relax and expand under the water, it actually pulls in all of the water. Go at your own pace, your own speed. And from wherever you're at, do 3 more and make it the longest, most relaxed breathing of the week. This week is over, depending on how your work week is stacked. The past few days are gone. You don't have to do them anymore. They're like old newspapers. You can put them in the garage, and then at some point you go out and you can look at the headlines and you say, yeah, I've seen that one before. It's a rerun. History is in the past. And then when you finish your 3 repetitions, bring everything back to the center. And then all of those details that we had talked about, gripping and relaxing and expanding, imagine that you can do all of those things just at one time. So that your body sort of shifts into its most natural position correctly, automatically. So put your mind, wherever you think your mind is, into your dantian. When you do that, that kind of adjustment will happen, because you can feel the balance between the front and the back if you shift in your feet, and between top and bottom, and between relaxation and purpose. There are some areas that are holding, that have power. One of them is difficult to explain, is what one teacher referred to as head suspension power, which is this ability to, are we pushing up through the spine, or are we relaxing and the energy pulling? All right, relax. Let's stretch a little bit before we do some Tai Chi. Take your one hand in the ear and reaching, put everything in line, so like your fingers, nose, elbow. And then activate the head suspension power, so pushing up through the back of the neck. Let your shoulders relax, let your elbows and wrists on both sides relax. And when you reach through for those fingertips, if you're pushing up through the back of the head and allowing the arm to relax, you should feel the energy moving. So take a deep breath. By the way, you can do this at your own pace. I'm sort of just leading the exercise. I'm giving you ideas on how to make it the most effective. So the same thing here. If I'm using my camera as the line this way, we want to make sure the elbow here is pulled in line this way. So, and then turn the spine, keep your chin tucked, breathe deep, let everything relax, and stretching all the way through. On your own, return back to the center. Next, take your hands. Try to lock and stabilize your shoulders and turn your head top. And now the same thing. I want you to imagine that you can be activating the head suspending power, the head suspension power, like you're pushing up through the center so that relax everything from your hands to the top of your head. It forms almost a triangle. So imagine the point of that triangle turning in a conical shape, and like your crown chakra is trying to escape from your shoulders in all directions. It's difficult to describe, but if you breathe deep and relax, you feel this type of stretch. And then did you change directions? So the same thing. And then when you come back to the center, we're going to do something different for the shoulder rolls because everybody's so tired today. We're taking it very easy, and instead of doing these big shoulder rolls, we're going to practice putting your mind inside of just the upper body and I want you to make the largest shoulder roll that you can as slowly as you can. This is kind of a weird exercise, so remember to practice the breathing and feel how far you can pull your shoulders back and down. And also, weirdly, we want to try to keep all of that relaxed as well. So we're making a very, very large circle with long breathing as slowly as we can. I want you to feel as if you can sense where in your deltoids, the shoulder muscles here, and in trapezius here, and all the tendons that connect all that, as you're turning so slowly that you can feel individual fibers of muscle when they relax, there's an action that happens where they sort of separate, and the tendons, which are more like strands of like jello. I don't know if we want to go here, but just feel everything inside as you're breathing. Make the circle larger. The same long breathing that we started with what we were just doing with the Qigong. So while we're doing this, we can talk about Tai Chi theory. Somebody will say, why are we doing so much Qigong in a Tai Chi class? Shouldn't we, if we're tired, shouldn't we do the kind of Qigong that gives us self-defense? Sometimes not doing self-defense is self-defense. So knowing when to rest is important. And sensing when everyone is tired as well as we're tired, being able to judge the space weather accurately is very good self-defense. So what's the difference between Qigong and Tai Chi Chuan Qigong? The only difference is that Tai Chi Chuan Qigong has the purpose of external self-defense attached to it. So we could practice Qigong internally for self-defense, but Tai Chi Chuan Qigong, every movement has some meaning or purpose. It's not simply to fill the lungs or to stretch the tendons. Do we change directions on these? And are you all stretched out? Do you feel that the return on the investment is less? In the beginning, when we start doing this kind of large stretching, but then once everything's stretched, are your shoulders relaxed? Do you want to do a few more? Feel your shoulders. Take your time. And then when you come back to the center, relax. And as if you're locking your hips in place, we're just going to turn gently around the middle. And normally on these, we do this kind of thing. You can practice any way that you like, but for today, I want you to practice just activating, because we're doing this sort of softer type exercise, more yin exercise, less yang and active. I want you to practice engaging different sides of your abs. Left side, right side, left side, right side. And then you can actually have it, for those of you that understand how motors work, like a two-stroke engine, right? As opposed to a four-stroke. Left side, right side is four-stroke. You can have the one side both initiate the movement and cause a break, and the other side to be assisting that. So just because we don't need to move very big, make the movement very large, we can focus on the detail of what's happening. I don't want you to use too much pressure. And when you're breathing, I want you to focus on lifting the base of the torso. One of the things that happens, and one of the reasons I don't teach a lot of internal breathing techniques and engaging the abs, is because when people's abdominal walls are weak, there's not a sensitivity to it, there's not a softness to it. So this can create problems elsewhere in the body. So we want to make sure that we have the whole iron lung is sealed correctly. And so when we're doing this, we're just engaging one side or the other. I want you to get used to feeling your abdominal wall and how you can use it as an external. Right? We say in Tai Chi there's a waist turn in every posture. So if you're doing this, if you use too much power while you do this, you may feel it at the base of the torso and in the back. So if you feel that pressure change, balance that with a counter pressure below, lifting. Long breathing, you should be filling your lungs from the bottom all the way up into the attic, into the uppermost eaves of the lungs. If you look at old Chinese medical books and acupuncture books and Qigong books, they drew the lungs like leaves. They look like bunches of bananas stacked on top of each other. So when you see those illustrations, imagine you're filling the palm branches all the way up to the top, and so that the body is pressurized. And the same long breathing that we started with. Next, just do some turning around the hips. Same long breathing. Think of this, for those of you that study yoga, think of this in terms of restorative yoga. We're not out to kill it today. It's just a day to relax, but we still have to do the work. So know when to take it easy, when to push the limits. Breathing deep, change. Make sure you go in both directions. Activate your feet. And activate at least a half smile. Imagine doing hip circles, a big frown. That seems fun. Next, we're going to do, since we're doing different type of exercise today, put your feet together and take your hands and putting them on either side of the inside of the knee this way. And then we're going to push the tailbone back and away. This is an interesting Qigong. This one's coming from Jean, so if you remember. So we're taking the hands and we're putting them back to back this way. And sliding them just on either side. So this point here in the center of the hand is pressing on the inside of the knee here. And then with that, try to keep your back straight. We're going to turn the chin and face upwards towards the sky. And then in addition to that, we're turning the eyes and the sockets all the way up, like we're looking up. And that's position A. And I'm going to do it slowly, but later we're going to add a little bit of speed. And then we're going to change. We're going to pull the hands up. We're going to bring the hands to the dantian here as such. And then we're going to turn, trying to keep the back and neck straight, but turning just at the pivot point here at the base of the neck, turning the face and the eyes to see the dantian inside this triangle physically this way, right? So I'll do a couple. We turn the hands back to back here to the inside of the knees. I'm looking up, my face is looking up, and then when I change, as if I'm arriving at this center space here, right? So my feet aren't really changing. I'm pushing my tailbone back and away, looking up, palms back to back, and then to the center. So it's one snapping movement. But we're starting slow because this is a new one. So breathing. The transition from B to A is not important. The transition from A to B should have a little bit of fa jing, a little bit of power to your dantian. And so where are my hands? My dantian is right here in the center, as if my thumbs are over the top of it and my index fingers are at the base. And then if I take this, it's right in the center of that. And so we're pulling this right to that spot. It's a weird transition because it's almost vertical. And then we come up to hit the brakes at the center. Breathing deep. Remember to connect the face. Relax your spine. Allow your tailbone to sink. Eyes going into the top of the eye socket. And then looking all the way to dantian gazing. Try not to do what I just did, which is pull your structure this way. Instead, we're going from, every one of these is a yin-yang combination. We're bent to straight, hands backwards to forwards, up, down, all of that type of thing. So you can use it in that way. And then next, we're going to do, before we continue, in Qigong culture, everybody knows about the dantian, right? We talk about this space near the navel, in the navel, below the navel. By the way, the translations from the Emperor's Yellow Classic and the Qigong and acupuncture books, they say tu qun below the navel, right? So a lot of times people say, well, the navel is here, and this is tu qun, and so I'm going to measure down tu qun below the navel, and that's where the dantian is. But then someone else will say, if you have an acupuncture patient, they're not standing, they're laying on the bed. So what they mean is tu qun below the navel this way. I'm not going to lean back anymore, but you get the idea, right? So don't let sometimes the points are not super distinct. They may exist somewhere, but for now, if you put your mind in this area, this is the accurate thing. So when we're doing this, you don't have to know exactly. Is it back a bit? Is it down a bit? Is it both? Everybody knows about the dantian. Next one is if you take your palms, we can do the Mr. Miyagi. And how many here do not know where their kidneys are? That's a wrong question. Yeah, right, okay. Or if you know where your kidneys are, it doesn't really matter. We're going to find them in a second. Is if you take your hands and you just put them naturally where they fall in the back, right? There used to be a show a long time ago. It was easily 40 years ago, and there was a show and a character, and he would say another character's name, I'm coming to see you, right? So this posture of where your hand goes in the lower lumbar, if you start to poke your hands around back there, and you feel on either side of the spine, if you feel where your spine is, there's sort of your pelvis goes across here. It forms like a line, right? So where your hips connect. And then coming up through the center is your spine. And then if you can reach a little bit higher, you feel your ribs. If you reach under your ribs but above your pelvis, there's some soft tissue back there. That's where your kidneys are, right? And your kidney, if you look, is about the size and shape of the front of your fist this way. And so there's some Qigong where they recommend putting your fists. And the action that you want to do for this massage is going inwards and downwards. So we're moving the energy, we're moving the massage in and down. And if it's painful, do a lighter massage. If it's not, you can actually work it quite a bit. And then take a second, like we said, and do this one. Get your hands nice and warm. And when you place them on the kidney, imagine transferring, like the heat from your hand is pulled into the kidney. You may discover something else too. Kidney is associated with the water element, right? It's fairly obvious. The urinary system, the kidney is one of the last lines of filtration for the body. We have a kidney, and then we have a ureter, and then we have a urethra, and then it goes out through another line. And so the kidneys electronically are considered the terminals for the bio battery of the body. So when you have a car battery and you have the terminals top and bottom. So we can charge. One way to charge the Dantian is by doing this type of thing. And when this type of qi is transferred from when you feel it go from your hands to your kidneys, another type of process may happen. You may have condensation occurring in the. How many here have ever seen a battery and it gets this type of, looks like baking soda. I don't even know what the chemical composition of it. I'm sure it's not baking soda, but it's just white caked on stuff on a car battery. That happens on your hands. So while you're standing here and do the breathing, stay relaxed. Your hands may become, in acupuncture, that's considered a damp condition, or they may feel wet. Your palms may get sweaty, right? You feel something happening. You feel the heat maybe transferring internally, and then the transfer back, the sort of reverse process of that is the moisture may come out in the palms, right? If this is uncomfortable for your shoulders, I learned another way to do this from Master Yun. If you take his Qigong class, some of you may have seen this, is putting the backs of the hands this way. It's slightly more comfortable, right? They actually use a different hand. They use a hand mudra. I'm not going to teach that one. But if you can do the same thing, you can put the back, because we say the acupressure point here in the center is the thing that goes here. You can use this back point here, and it feels slightly less crunch on the shoulder, right? So the same thing. And this, by the way, I think this one, the backwards one, the pass-through for any, this is especially if you have fluid in the body, transfers a little bit easier. All right, so next, what were we doing? We're doing some leg warm-up stuff, right? Let's do a little bit of bending at the waist. Grip your feet, relax your tailbone, relax your shoulders. Your head top is going to the ground. And remember, today we're resting, so really allow your head and neck to relax. Feel the energy moving in your back. We just did some work on the kidneys. And the same thing, if you know where your spine and your vertebrae are, you can imagine opening all the gaps using the gravity. Your head top pulling downwards to stretch your spine, your upper back, your neck. When you're ready, grip the ground, breathing deep. We're going to inflate from the base all the way up to the top, and then relax. Let's keep moving time-wise. So next, we're just going to do a stretch for the legs. So grip your toes, push your tailbone back and away. You can put your palm on top of this knee to support, and just stretching. A lot of times I try to get you guys to push it, to stretch a little bit further by
telling you to pull the foot back and extend. For today, just relax. You're getting a stretch. This is probably the most difficult part of this workout for the day so far, so breathe deep. See if you can let everything actually relax so that you can stretch. And then when you're ready, activate the energy at the bottom so that the energy at the top goes up. Change, we'll do the other side. Activate your foot, grip the ground, push the tailbone back and away. Normally we're going for 110%. Today is 70%, 80%. So breathe deep. You can still stretch if you like. You stretch as much as you want. When you're ready, push energy down to push up, and then bring your feet together. Let's do one other one. Practice balancing, and if we do something like Jinji Li, and then turning the foot. So a lot of times we put the foot out straight this way. Here, and it's important for this. Let's actually, before we do that kind of ankle turn, I want to get into the idea of being even lazier when we practice the balance. So when you're gripping the foot with one side, the one leg should be active. When we stand, you should use all parts of your leg. They don't have to be going crazy with being flexed, but all of the parts should be active in balancing. The same way when we do grabbing something, taking a hold of something, we should use as many of our fingers as we need. We don't want to try to pick up a heavy piece of luggage with just 3 fingers, right? That wouldn't make any sense. A heavy object or heavy package, we would use all 5. So the same thing, we're trying to balance our heavy structure on top of one thing. So we would I want you to use the whole leg. But in the leg that's lifting, we want to use as little, right? So this is the contrast between when we talk about yin and yang in the philosophy and Tai Chi theory. It says yin and yang should be clearly established, right? Meaning the whiter the white and the blacker the black, then we have a very, very clear Taiji, right? Very clear Tai Chi symbol. So the more that we activate in the standing leg and the less that we activate in the raised leg is the correct mindset for it. So this is, by the way, also the same thing when we're practicing the Kung Fu. If we're doing crane and opening the wings, if this is the active hand and it's doing the work, the yin hand should be so light, should be so easy to keep up there in the sky. They may change. This one may be the working hand. We may use that for the striking or the blocking or whatever's happening. This one down here should then be floating as if the chi can support it. So let's go back to Jinji Li. If we practice this one, I want you to imagine one thing and test one other thing, right? There's 2 ways we can check to see if we have it right. There's a tendon. I don't know what it's called. We could go look it up. It connects from the inside of your pelvis and it goes to the inside of your knee here, right? It's along this inside line. And you can, it's actually a muscle tendon complex, right? This connection. And when you raise your leg, there's a way just to pull on that one inside thing and bring your kneecap up, right? It's almost like when we do the other Qigong, when we like say, imagine somebody's lifting this. Imagine there's just one point here on the inside of your knee, and you can bring that up. The way to check if you have it correct is this. If I use my whole leg to bring this up, right? All of this muscle tissue is active, and it came with it, and it's tight, right? Because I'm using that, actually, this muscle to lift. But if I just let everything relax, right, and keep my hips level, this is the other thing too. We talked about Yang with Chan being underneath the table, right? So keep your hips level. Is at one point is being pulled up. Now when we look at this, all of this stuff is relaxed and soft. And I can still maintain the 90-degree thing for here. So let's practice that a few times. Just doing Jinji Li on the right and left. Just from a regular basic stance, grip the ground. Activate the whole standing leg. From your kidney all the way down to the heel. The whole standing leg is active.
And then just at one point, as you're bringing the leg up, let everything else relax. Let the rest of the points in the leg relax. Keep your hips level. And then change on the other side. Grip your foot. And just at one point, let the glutes, the hamstrings, all of this, even the calf on the flying leg, the raised leg. Try the other side, grip the ground. Use the whole standing leg to stand. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to hurt it, you don't have to, and let the whole raised leg relax. My teacher said something very important the other day. He said, balance is not the goal. He said balance is a byproduct. So when your structure is correct, it's balanced. Use the whole standing leg. And then just power to the inside of the knee. And then the same thing on the raised finger. You can use the middle finger or the index finger, depending on what you like. And when we're doing that, the same, when this comes up, keep your shoulder, elbow, wrist, forearm, bicep, tricep, keep all of that relaxed as if there's a string and it's connected here and it's pulling up just on that one point. So it's the inside of the knee and the inside of the fingertip going up. And then let that relax. And then the other leg is a standing. The whole thing is active. And just those 2 points, fingertip and knee, going up, change. We should be doing the same long breathing that we were doing before. So this should also be Qigong as well as practicing efficiency and movement. How little effort does it take for us to get into Jinji Dali? Before we continue, we're going to do some Tai Chi. We're just going to work on the first stuff from the first section. Does anyone have questions or thoughts about anything we've talked about so far? Some of these classes I just upload lots and lots of material, and yeah. So let's go back to the very beginning of the form. Let's just work on the first few movements: grasp the sparrow's tail and put off, this type of thing. And this form is unique, and when we're starting with the hands together in the center, there may be other martial arts forms that start with the hands connected, something like this. But in Tai Chi, most of the Tai Chi forms are starting with the hands to the side this way. This is one of the things that we have to consider when we're studying Tai Chi as martial art, even especially as self-defense, is the Chinese culture. So when we talk about this first posture, this is the central idea for Chinese philosophy, Chinese culture. If you know anything about Chinese culture, the name for China in their language, China is an English romanization of 2 of their characters, which is Zhonghua. And you may have heard me talk about this before over at the park, but Zhonghua, the word Zhong means like a center, like the center line, right? It literally translates to center. You've probably seen it. It looks like a post with a little square that goes around. I'm not going to try to draw it. But this is the central theme, is the center line from the top, from biped up, and the tailbone going down. So the Chinese value the accuracy, the straightness. If you get a calligraphy brush, you don't want one that's bent. Sometimes you do. For your Biangan, we don't want the straight one. We want one that's crooked and it's larger on one end.
Sometimes because we order them, we get them, pre-sanded. But when it comes to precision, if we want to make something accurate, we value that laser-like accuracy, which is a constant refinement down to 1/100ths, 1/1000ths of percentiles of tolerances. So this is the beginning, is the Zhonghua. And this posture, He Tai Chi, is T.C. felt, instead of having the hands here, he studied with many, many teachers, and he felt that this was a better opening. There's also self-defense here, because if you you have a situation where you have an opponent and you revert to this posture. This is universally understood posture on earth, right? Nobody, if you're standing like this, if you have your hands in this posture, right? Very few people are going to mistake this is a peaceful posture. And in our practice in the Mandarin, it's called He Tai Chi. And it means Tai Chi in harmony. Your body is harmonious and balanced, something. And so the very first movement, when we step to the side, we're putting these hands down. If you're here, what's somebody going to want to grab? They're going to want to grab your shoulder or your wrists, right? And so if they grab your wrists while you're here, they can't hang on if you do this first one, right? So drumming the power to the first thing. But we're not showing that all the time, right? If we did, our Tai Chi form would not be Tai Chi form. It would be just a generic Kung Fu form, right? Right? To show all of these, right? This is a wind, looks like a wind chime. So we're just skipping through, like connecting the dots, but in a nice circular fashion. Once you know what the picture of the drawing is, there may just be dot here and dot here, but we can make that a nice arc, right? We can make smooth transition. So we go from Tai Chi harmony. What's the next one? Is the ready stance. And so this is the feet are parallel. The spine is also straight. And we're expanding. We have palm, so we want to inflate, both mentally, inflate with the breathing, physically. And then Song, which is relaxation. We keep all of that inflation and we let the body contract. We show the yin and yang to the judge, to the outside, to ourselves as a recall. And then the next one is the hands floating. And so in this form, our ready stance is this bare posture. And so with the spine straight, my teacher would say you can have the fingertips pointing at each other. When I say my teacher, in this case I'm talking about TC. The fingertips as if you're holding the ball, or you have a tree or a column here in the front. Or you can leave the hands relaxed this way, in the front this way. Either way is okay, because they're going to go into action. This one, Tai Chi Chi Shi, is the start of Tai Chi. So this is our ready stance. And it's basically very generic. The idea is other styles, Shingi, the ready stance looks something like this. And in Bagua, we may have here or here, right? We may have some of these different kind of Western style boxing. They put their hands up, or they're covering, right? Krav Maga, they put your hands covering the gate in the front. All of this kind of fighting stuff. Tai Chi's ready stance. I'm sorry, Mark has probably heard this so many times, he's tired of hearing this routine. Our ready stance is based on the legs are sprung. It's a tall horse stance, but we can sink. We have a center line that can turn, and we have the hands that are ready to do their thing, right? And so we can see in 180 degrees. It's pretty generic, and it's referred to as, if we look at animal styles, the bear, right? Kung Fu Panda is the head top is up, the tailbone is down, and the hands are relaxed. So what's the next movement? Is we have grasp the sparrow's tail on the side. And so what grasp the sparrow's tail is an answer to incoming force. If you watch my structure from the center, if power is coming in, when I turn, I can actually move so that power can go straight past me. And this is where we start to, from the very, very first movement, from the very first Tai Chi Chi Shi to the first posture. By the way, when we go into this standing posture, nothing happens in theory, right? If we're studying this like a textbook instead of a workbook, or in real life application. in theory, nothing would happen until the power arrives, right? We would actually stand here in a static state until the opponent attacks. And when the opponent attacks, then we see which way. We actually would, instead of actively taking movement, allow gravity to collapse the structure in just the right way. We keep the structure inflated in the right place, but allow it to deflate so that the bullet or the fist or the negative energy can go past and then inflate, going back to being a happy bear, right? So getting into theory, how do we know? We have 3 different parts. And so this is part of the self-extracting library, the self-expanding encyclopedia of the Taiji form, is the 3 phases to every posture. The first is avoid. The second is to make contact. And the last is to advance. And my teacher said this for many, many years. In Mandarin, it's called Hua, Na, and Da. And so Hua is avoid. Na is the same word, if you like martial arts, as the word Chin Na, right, which is joint locking, right? If you get somebody in an arm bar, in English we call it an arm bar, a lock. In Chinese they call it Chin Na. So this is like a grab and twist, right? And so we have Hua, Na, and the last one, Da, means to advance, walk, go forward, attack, right? To move forward. Then after hearing TC say these for many years, I was reading somewhere else and I saw the correct expression in the Taiji classics is Ting Hua Na Da. And so the first word Ting, I went to ask him, I said, why do you only teach Hua Na Da? I said, why don't you teach Ting Hua Na Da? And he said, because the first word Ting is a type of meditative power. It means our awareness is expanded to the environment around us. And he says, I don't teach it because after some time of practicing Tai Chi and meditation, our awareness already becomes expanded to that point. So he felt that it was better to reduce it to 3 things as opposed to 4 things. So if you see Ting Hua Na Da, I don't teach Ting because we should be meditating, even if it's while we do Tai Chi, so that we can sense the power. We know where the power is coming from a long way off, because we're experienced, and so we can sense where it's coming from, even if it's from behind, right? The Kung Fu masters that have eyes in the back of their head, they're feeling the chi from a long distance. They know when the opponent is approaching from behind. So the first one, grasp the sparrow's tail, has 3 phases. The first one is avoid, right? And my hands, if they're here from the ready, when they avoid, like we said, the easiest thing is like gravity, drop them out, right? If I have to get out of the situation, I can fall out pretty quick. And then the next one is if the power changes, right? So I should put some markings on the floor. If power is coming directly, and I go to change this way, and I move without compromising my structure, and power changes direction to go here, wow, it's time. Then I have to make contact, right? Because if I avoid and the power changes and I avoid again, and the power changes and I keep avoiding, it's called running away. So we can't be running away, we have to make contact. Avoid, make contact. And the last one is once we make contact, we know how much force, what the trajectory, what the speed is. And then from there, we can choose how to advance. And in the Chinese language, Da, I want to say that we don't have an equivalent of it in English. Maybe perhaps a better Mandarin speaker could do it. But it's the idea of go forward, right? But it can be translated as walk, and it can be translated as, attacking, striking. So sometimes the situation calls for a big attack, right? Lots of power, we need to push. And other times we can feel there's no power there. We can just walk, right? We don't need to do very much. Let's go back to the basic. Allow your feet to touch. Push your head top up. Relax your shoulders. Use your abs in the center to support. Bring your hands together in the center. We're going to do some breathing from Tai Chi Harmony. Remember to gauge the space weather. Especially if you have to do something, if you have to work, when there's no energy, Be sure to do more breathing, take in more oxygen. Eat more food when you have to work and you're tired. It means there's less energy, so you need more calories to sustain that. Move your mind into the center, allow your body to line up. And then internally, externally, take a second to smile to your center. Internally, as if the inside of your body has acoustics of some type. It can echo, it can have, the walls can be soundproof. But fill your body with the idea of gratitude for itself. You can say it, you can whisper it, you can sing it. You can do it in a robot voice if you like. And then move your mind from your dantian all the way up to the top, crown chakra. Close your eyes some part way. And then as if you're looking downwards into your body, like looking down into a canyon, surveying the whole thing, the same thing, have the feeling of gratitude. You can say it. You can breathe it. You can smile it into yourself. One last deep breath. And that's it. We're past time, so if you have questions, you can, you know how to reach me, email, text, all that stuff. Have a great weekend. Take it easy on yourself, and let's see about class tomorrow.
Thanks, Brian.
Sure. Have a great day.